Welcome to another Humm Baby Baseball ranking, and today we have a slightly different list. Instead of talking about players, we're going to talk about Major League Baseball stadiums, but not necessarily the stadiums themselves, rather the name currently attached to the ballpark. And there was a time when stadiums and arenas were typically named in tribute to a person, maybe as a reference to something in the geographical area, just something awesome, something unique. Candlestick Park, the Hubert H. Humphrey Metrodome, Ebbets Field. But sadly, nowadays, the vast majority of stadiums are named after corporate sponsors. And this practice became very popular after the Busch family, who owned Budweiser, offered enough money to the Cardinals to change the name of Sportsman Park. They wanted it to be called Budweiser Stadium. But the commissioner, Ford Frick, was not too keen on that name for obvious reasons, and they settled with Busch Stadium. And although this practice goes back a long way, it has become the absolute norm, and stadiums frequently change names as sponsors change for a variety of reasons, including sometimes scandal and bankruptcy. A professional team attaching themselves to a sponsor to such a degree that they give the sponsor stadium naming rights definitely comes with risk. Risk of embarrassment, not to mention the possibility that your stadium gets a name that is absolutely god-awful. And of course, not all corporate names are terrible, and some are actually okay. Some are pretty iconic, but there are definitely some exceptions. And today we'll be ranking all 30 MLB stadium names from worst to best. The catchier and cooler sounding, the better. And if a stadium has kept the name for a long time, long enough for fans to become accustomed to it and embrace it, that helps too. So let's just get going. Let's get into it, starting at number 30. And we have the Chicago White Sox, and none other than Guaranteed Rate Field. I don't care how much money a company offers me, there is one thing I can guarantee: my stadium will never be called Guaranteed Rate Field. The name of this stadium went from awesome to bad to horrendous. It originally carried over the name of the legendary Comiskey Park before changing to US Cellular Field. Then in 2016, a residential mortgage company called Guaranteed Rate, which is not even a great name for a mortgage company in my opinion, purchased naming rights for 13 years, and the new stadium is called Guaranteed Rate Field. And the name was mocked on social media, deservedly so. And Guaranteed Rate Field is by far the worst stadium name in MLB and in the history of humanity. Number 29, the Miami Marlins LoanDepot Park. Another stadium that went from a fantastic name, Marlins Park, to a terrible one, LoanDepot Park. This is a stadium that opened in 2012. It had so many unique elements, along with a contemporary design, moving away from the retro ballpark trend. It embodies the city of Miami and was named after the team that played there, the Marlins. Marlins Park was a name that became associated with the famous home run sculpture, the South Beach style swimming pool area, the fish aquariums behind home plate, and so many other amazing elements in the ballpark, the bobblehead museum, and on and on and on. That is until Derek Jeter, who coincidentally took the first at bat and had the first hit in the stadium's history, took over the Marlins and decided to sell naming rights. And a mortgage company called LoanDepot paid out the big cash and got the name, and now this amazing ballpark is called LoanDepot Park. An absolutely horrendous name for a baseball stadium. And by the way, the home run sculpture and the fish tanks have been since removed. Number 28, the Seattle Mariners T-Mobile Park. Well, at least it's not a mortgage company, but while I'm sure T-Mobile provides great cell phone service, it's not a good name for a baseball stadium. It was originally called Safeco Field, which is not much better, but at least it's the original name. But before moving to Safeco, the Mariners played in the Kingdome, named after King County. Now that is an awesome name. But getting back to modern times, in 2019, T-Mobile took over naming rights of Safeco Field, added their logo all over the ballpark, and maybe by now Mariners fans are used to it. I'm not sure, but I know I'm not. Number 27, the Milwaukee Brewers American Family Field. While there's nothing inherently wrong with this name, to me, it just sounds stupid. At first, I thought the Brewers were just coming up with a super family-friendly name after dropping naming rights with the Miller Brewing Company, but in reality, it's another sponsorship, named after a company called American Family Insurance.
What kind of stupid-ass name is that?
Miller Park was a perfect name for the stadium. Even though it is named after a beer company, we're talking about Milwaukee, known for a long time as the brewing capital of the world, and it's not too unusual to find a beer or two inside an MLB stadium. It's been known to happen. Now we have this cringe and generic sounding name from a company based in Madison, 80 miles from Milwaukee. And let's just be honest, what sounds more cool? Hey guys, I'm going to Miller Park tonight to catch a game. You want to come? Or hey guys, I'm going to American Family Field to catch a game. You want to come? Pass. Number 26, the Atlanta Braves' Truist Park. It felt like the Braves had just recently moved into the appropriately named Turner Field when it was announced that they would be moving into a new stadium in Cobb County. And there was a nice opportunity there to name the stadium after someone like Hank Aaron. Maybe something simple like Aaron Park. But no, the new stadium would be called SunTrust Park after a bank. Not the worst name, to be honest, but when you have a corporate name like this, you risk having to change it when the company changes names, when they merge or something of that nature, which is exactly what happened with SunTrust. They merged, they changed their name to Truist Financial Corporation, and now the stadium is called Truist Park. At least it's short. It's not as cringe as the previous names, but Truist? It's not even a word. Number 25, the Pittsburgh Pirates PNC Park. Well, there's nothing wrong with the name. What does it even stand for? Does anybody know? I didn't know until I prepared this video. It's actually named after PNC Financial Services, and the letters PNC came about when two companies merged, the Pittsburgh National Corporation and the Provident National Corporations. Don't these names really remind you of the game of baseball? Me neither. And the Pirates used to play at Three Rivers Stadium, a perfect name representing the famous three rivers of Pittsburgh, the Allegheny, the Monongahela, and the Ohio. That was a cool name. I know you weren't going to call the new stadium Three Rivers, but could have come up with something cool. At least name it after the legendary Roberto Clemente? But no, it's named after a financial company, and their name is not even a word, it's three random letters. Number 24, the Toronto Blue Jays, Rogers Center. Two things. Number one, this stadium used to have one of the coolest names in baseball, the Sky Dome. It can't get much better than that, but it can get worse. In 2004, Rogers Communications acquired the Sky Dome and shortly thereafter renamed it Rogers Center, which doesn't even sound remotely like a baseball stadium. It sounds like a little arena or convention center at the county fair. Number 23, the Cleveland Guardians, Progressive Field. For one, although I've never used them, I'm not really a fan of Progressive and their annoying commercials. And secondly, this name just comes off as weird, like what, you think your stadium's more progressive than the other 29 teams? And thirdly, the stadium once had an awesome name, Jacobs Field, nicknamed the Jake. Hey man, let's go to the Jake tonight. The Yankees are in town. Now it's like, hey man, let's go to the Prague tonight. Number 22, the Philadelphia Phillies Citizens Bank Park. In my opinion, the word bank should never be part of an MLB stadium name. This one has a decent ring to it, but it would have been even better if they just called it Citizens Park. Company's official name is Citizens Financial Group, but obviously they have banks called Citizens Bank, and I guess they're trying to get people, I don't even understand who goes to one of these baseball games anyway and watches the game and says, damn, that was a great game. Bryce Harper hit 2 home runs. You know what, man? I'm gonna bank with Citizens Bank from now on. Number 21, the Minnesota Twins Target Field. Unfortunately, Target is just too famous of a company to associate with anything but the company itself. And there's nothing like terrible about it. It's halfway cool. Target Field, certainly better than Walmart Field or Walgreens Stadium, but it's still Target. So unfortunately, I can't rank it too high. Number 20, the Texas Rangers Globe Life Field. This stadium proves how ridiculous naming rights are, because the Rangers were playing at Globe Life Park, and because they moved to a new stadium, the name had to go with them. And now the stadium is called Globe Life Field. These names have absolutely nothing to do with the team, the stadium, the geography, the baseball legends of the past. Nothing. It's all about a billionaire company usually a bank, an insurance or mortgage company that pays the team for the naming rights, and that's it. And all that said, this is one of the better insurance, bank, mortgage company names, to be honest. Globe Life Field is actually halfway cool. I don't despise it, but still. Number 19, the Houston Astros Minute Maid Park. This one seems like it should be a lot lower, but somehow the name fits and sounds kind of cool to me. Even going back to when it was first announced, and that might have something to do with the fact that it was Enron Field before that, named after the energy company that went completely bankrupt in 2001 due to a massive scandal. The Astros had to pay $2.1 million to Enron to get out of the deal, and they changed the name to Astros Field for just a short time before selling the naming rights to Minute Maid Park. So, like Target Field, it's tough to associate the term Minute Maid with anything else but Minute Maid, but I don't completely hate this name. Number 18, the San Diego Padres Petco Park. Although I've gotten sort of used to this one, we're still talking about a Major League Baseball stadium named after a pet supply store. And Petco is a company local to San Diego. They do work with the team and the community a little bit more than other corporate sponsors. And it's not some boring financial company. So all that helps. And the stadium is amazing. It's got so many unique features. It seems like they could have come up with something better than going the corporate sponsor route, such as naming it after the great Tony Gwynn, maybe. But we got Petco Park. It's a name I've gotten used to as the years have passed. So I'm going to rank it at number 18. Number 17, the Detroit Tigers Comerica Park. Yes, it's named after a bank, but for whatever reason, I don't hate the name Comerica Park. It's not a bank that I'm familiar with, so when I hear the name, I think more of the Tigers Stadium than I do a bank. They haven't changed the name since it opened, which helps, and of course, it's not as great as the old classic name, Tiger Stadium. Not even close, but Comerica Park, not too bad. Number 16, the Arizona Diamondbacks Chase Field. The name is simple. It's an improvement over Bank One Ballpark, but it is a corporate name. Named after a bank that's not even headquartered in Phoenix. It's headquartered in New York. And the only reason it's ranked this high is because it is short, it's catchy, it's simple, and that could have been just pure luck because it could have easily been called First Option Mortgage Stadium if that company had offered them enough dough. Luckily, we got Chase Field. Number 15, the Colorado Rockies Coors Field. Although I don't drink alcohol, where you find baseball, you do find beer. So there's no point in denying it. Might as well embrace the beer stadium names, okay? It's a lot better than the mortgage company ones. And Coors Field has always been Coors Field. It's famous for this name. I associate Coors more so with the stadium than I do the beer, more so with the high altitude field where pitchers' careers go to die than I do the actual beer. That said, if you're gonna build a stadium in Denver, I don't think you can beat Mile High Stadium. Number 14, the St. Louis Cardinals Busch Stadium. And another beer name. This one only gets ranked higher than Coors because it has a more historic name by now, even though I would have probably despised this name back in 1953 when it changed to Busch from Sportsman Park, as I mentioned earlier. But now we've had 3 Busch stadiums, and whenever I head to St. Louis to watch a Major League Baseball game, I know I'm heading to Busch Stadium. It just has that ring to it now. It's become a classic name, so I'm going to rank it in the upper half. Number 13, the Cincinnati Reds Great American Ballpark. This one is similar to, but so much better than American Family Field, in my opinion. It does sound a bit generic, but it has a better ring to it. And it would be even higher if it wasn't named after an insurance company, American Financial Group, which is at least based in Cincinnati. It's a cool name though, Great American Ballpark. I think it's cool, I like it, so I'm going to rank it relatively high. Number 12, the San Francisco Giants Oracle Park. I hate to rank my favorite team's stadium outside the top 10, but it's not about the ballpark. The ballpark is number 1. It's about the name, or more specifically, the constant changing of the name. I grew up going to Candlestick Park. Perfect name for a ballpark, located at Candlestick Point. Classic, perfect. Then they changed the name to the god-awful 3Com Park. Of course, the fans never called it that. Then the Giants moved to Pac Bell Park. Not a great name, but just as we got used to it, they changed it to SBC Park. Then before we could get used to that, they changed it to AT&T Park, which is really not a good name, but it became kind of embedded in the minds of Giants fans, especially after 3 World Championships playing at AT&T, and then it changed again. And Oracle Park is a cool sounding name, and I call it Oracle Park. Oracle, the company, is headquartered in Austin, Texas. I like the name. It's unique. It's cool sounding. It's not a company that's widely known, but I can't rank it that high. This is about the best I can do, Giants. Sorry about that. Oracle Park, number 12. Number 11, the Los Angeles Angels, Angel Stadium of Anaheim. While you can't go wrong with simply naming the stadium after the team, some of them do have a better ring to it than others. Angel Stadium, it's okay, but the official name, Angel Stadium of Anaheim, it reminds me of the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, which is what the team was called for a few years. So the name is a little bit long, but when you just call it Angel Stadium, perfectly fine. And I applaud the Angels for not taking the corporate sponsor route and just sticking to Angel Stadium. But the Angel Stadium of Anaheim, it's not one of my favorites. Number 10, the New York Mets Citi Field. Citi Field is named after Citigroup, which is a financial company, but at least they're headquartered in the same city that the team plays in. And like Chase Field, it's short, it's catchy, it's simple, but I think it's cool. I think it's more cool than Chase Field. You have a city spelled C-I-T-I. Sounds cool, not cringe. Nothing offensive about it other than the fact that it's a corporate name. The Mets get paid $20 million a year for naming rights. Not that I condone it or like it, but I can understand for $20 million a year. Number 9, the Oakland A's, the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum. The A's stadium gets ranked this high by the skin of their teeth because they only recently pulled the plug on naming rights with Ring Central. If it was still called Ring Central, it'd been a lot lower. But there is really one word in the name of this stadium that makes it awesome: the Coliseum. I've always thought that that was just cool. Hey man, I'm heading to the Coliseum, man. That just sounds awesome. And I've always thought that the proper name, the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum, is a little bit too long, but the nickname it inspired is kick-ass for sure. So we just call it the Coliseum, and even during the cringe sponsorship years, it's the Coliseum, and it's a great name. Number 8, the Tampa Bay Rays Tropicana Field. Why do I like this name so much? To me, it somehow fits the dome perfectly. It's the only non-retractable dome left in baseball, so when you're sitting inside, you feel like you're sitting in a gigantic orange. And the Tropicana name and the logo, it just fits everything about the stadium perfectly. And at this point, I can't imagine calling it anything else but the Trop. Number 7, the Kansas City Royals Kauffman Stadium. Shout out to the Royals for not taking millions of dollars from some financial company and changing the name of their stadium, nicknamed the K, which was named after Ewing Kauffman, an entrepreneur and philanthropist who brought Major League Baseball back to Kansas City after the A's left. And he was a major factor in the decision to build this stadium, and to build a stadium that wasn't the boring multi-purpose type stadium that was very popular at the time. Instead, he helped design a stadium that is still a gem today, in my opinion, among MLB ballparks, even though, yes, the Royals are looking for a new ballpark. But had they built the typical cookie cutter stadium, the Royals would have been done left by now, a long time ago. Instead, they're still playing there at Kauffman Stadium, and it is a beautiful sight. I've been there, and I absolutely love it, and the name is perfect. Number 6, the Washington Nationals Nationals Park. The Nationals did the best thing you can do. Name the team after the stadium. I mean, it's not the most original decision, but Nationals Park. It sounds nice. It fits. Unfortunately, I have heard rumors that the Nationals are thinking about selling naming rights. So don't be surprised if Nationals Park doesn't stick, but for now, absolutely perfect. Number 5, the Los Angeles Dodgers. Dodger Stadium. It hurts me more than it hurts you to rank Dodger Stadium so high. But let's be honest, it's simple, it's iconic, the name flows smoothly, and both the stadium and the name have stood the test of time. I've also heard some rumors that the Dodgers will change the name and do a corporate sponsorship. I don't think that'll happen. Hopefully not, because Dodger Stadium is a name that works so well. Just like Yankee Stadium that I'm about to talk about. You don't even have to add an S like Nationals Park or Marlins Park. Simply Dodger Stadium. Number 4, the New York Yankees. Yankee Stadium. One of the most iconic names of all time, simply Yankee Stadium. Of course, the current stadium is not the original Yankee Stadium. I am aware of that, but they did the right thing by simply carrying over the name. And you can call it the new Yankee Stadium for distinction, but the name is perfect. You can't change it. It's a reminder of all the greats who played with the Yankees, going back to Babe Ruth, to Lou Gehrig, to Jolton Joe, to Don Mattingly, to Derek Jeter, who I trashed earlier in this video. Number 3, the Chicago Cubs Wrigley Field, one of the most iconic stadium names in the world. And it does sound like a corporate name, right? Wrigley chewing gum. But William Wrigley was not only the owner of the gum, but he was also owner of the Chicago Cubs. And the stadium, which was called Weeghman Park, then Cubs Park, was renamed Wrigley Field in 1927. And sure, at the time, the owner named the stadium after himself and his gum company, but since then, the Cubs have resisted giving into corporate naming rights. They prefer to maintain the classic name Wrigley Field. And plus, there's also the fear that if they change it, the Cubs fans will riot and perhaps cause World War III. Number 2, the Baltimore Orioles, Oriole Park at Camden Yards. Most fans simply call it Camden Yards. It's an absolutely awesome name. They probably couldn't just call it Camden Yards because Camden Yards is more than just the stadium, but the name just sounds awesome. And it sounds so much cooler than Oriole Park, which would have been fine. It is called Oriole Park, and the entire name still kicks ass. Oriole Park at Camden Yards. It's a little long, but it's awesome. And you can just call it Camden Yards. And the name fits the scenery perfectly. And this is definitely one of my favorite stadium names of all time. It comes in at number 2. Number 1, the Boston Red Sox Fenway Park. Can it get more simple and historic than simply Fenway Park? And yes, it's true, the stadium was named by the Red Sox owner at the time, John I. Taylor, who owned Fenway Realty Company. But at least he wasn't dumb enough to call it Fenway Realty Park, which is still better than Guaranteed Rate. And also, the stadium is in a neighborhood called Fenway Kenmore, and Taylor claimed that that's why he called it Fenway Park. But does it really matter at this point? He's the one that purchased the land, he developed the land, he helped create one of the most historic baseball stadiums that is still standing today and being used today. And the name is absolutely perfect, and it has been for 111 years. It couldn't be simpler. It's synonymous with baseball. Nobody hears Fenway Park and thinks of anything but baseball. So I absolutely love the name of this stadium, and it's never been called anything else. To my knowledge, it has such historic value, and it's technically not a sponsored name. It's not a sponsored name. Regardless of Taylor's original intention behind it, it's not a corporate sponsorship. And so I have to put Fenway Park at number 1 in my list of MLB stadium names, worst to best. And now, let me know your thoughts on my list. And to steal a quote from one of my favorite movie reviewers on YouTube, his name is Sean Chandler, he says, "It's not the right list, it's just my list." So keep that in mind. I'm sure many of you or all of you will disagree, but if you really do love the name Guaranteed Rate Field, just go ahead and unsubscribe. I'm totally kidding. If you like the name, it's all good, but it's absolutely awful. Thank you guys so much for your support. I really do appreciate it. Thank you to my members who voted on this topic. There's a join button down below. If you're enjoying these documentaries and these countdowns, feel free to hit that join button and join the team, join the Humm Baby Squad. And I've put out a poll every week, and my members actually vote for the documentary topics and the countdowns. So that's how I pick those countdowns and those topics. So I do appreciate my members, subscribers, and everyone else. Thank you so much for your support. Let me know what you think again of today's list and these names. What do you think? LoanDepot Park, what's your thoughts? Put it down below, and we'll talk to you next time.